In just 10 minutes, uncover 10 explosive takeaways from Jon Stewart's talk with historians Kevin Kruse and Jill Lepore on how Trump is acting like a modern king, abusing fake emergencies, exploiting cracks in the Constitution, and why authoritarianism is quietly winning in America. Takeaway 1. Trump is acting like a modern king. The biggest idea discussed in the podcast is that Donald Trump is no longer behaving like a normal president, but more like a king. Jon Stewart said it straight. He's not a president, he's a king now. Jill Lepore and Kevin Kruse explained that in a healthy democracy, power is shared across branches of government. But under Trump, that balance has collapsed. He picks enemies, invents emergencies, and uses the military or law enforcement to crush opposition. There are no real checks left. Instead of solving problems through Congress, Trump acts on his own, using executive orders and emergency declarations to do whatever he wants. The guests agreed that this is not a glitch in the system, it is how monarchy starts. When one man holds all the power and no one dares to stop him. For example, Trump threatened to withhold funding from California simply because state leaders criticized him, the kind of petty revenge only a ruler would use. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 2. Authoritarianism is gaining support in America. Many people assume Americans would never support a dictator, but Jill Lepore warned that is not true. She explained that authoritarian crackdowns are often popular when they are sold as restoring law and order. Kevin Kruse added that the same thing happened during the Kent State shootings in 1970. After National Guard troops killed 4 unarmed students, most Americans blamed the students, not the military. The idea that Trump can act like a strongman and still keep his support is not surprising when you look at American history. Jon Stewart put it bluntly when he said Trump's version of law and order is simply kicking the shit out of the right people. For example, when construction workers violently attacked student protesters in the 1970s, Nixon praised them and even brought their union leaders to the White House. That shows how violence from one side is seen as patriotism, while protest from the other is seen as treason. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 3. The Constitution has cracks that Trump exploits. The podcast explained how Trump is not just ignoring the rules. He is studying the system like a hacker looking for weak spots. Kevin Kruse said that Trump's team digs into old forgotten laws like the Alien Enemies Act from the 1700s to justify harsh actions like mass deportations or emergency crackdowns. These laws are still active because Congress never got rid of them. Jon Stewart said this country was built on an honor system, and now that an honorless person is in charge, everything is falling apart. Jill Lepore added that there are dozens of emergency laws that have no time limits and can be activated whenever the president wants. For example, Trump used a trade emergency to bypass Congress and impose tariffs even though there was no crisis. These are not accidents. They are deliberate uses of outdated power, meant for real emergencies, but now abused for political gain. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 4. Trump is using fake emergencies for power grabs. Kevin Kruse broke down how Trump declares emergencies even when nothing serious is happening. In less than 6 months, Trump declared 8 emergencies. Compare that to George W. Bush, who only declared 14 across 8 years, despite dealing with 9/11, Hurricane Katrina, and a global financial crisis. Many of Trump's emergencies are completely made up, like claiming there was an energy crisis or pretending the southern border was under attack. Jill Lepore said this shows a shift from using executive orders to relying on emergency declarations, which give more unchecked power. The scary part is that there is no clear rule about what counts as an emergency. If the president says it is one, it becomes one. For example, Trump declared a national emergency over immigration numbers, even though immigration levels were actually lower than in past decades. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 5. Democrats also misused emergency powers. To be fair, Jill Lepore made it clear that Democrats also used emergency powers in ways that contributed to today's problem. She explained that Bill Clinton declared 17 emergencies during his time in office, and Barack Obama declared 12. Even Joe Biden has declared 9 so far. What changed with Trump is not the tool itself, but how shamelessly it is used. Past presidents still worked with Congress and tried to justify emergencies based on actual events. Trump skips all that and uses emergencies to push personal or political goals. For example, Clinton used emergency powers to enforce economic sanctions and fight drug cartels. These were controversial, but at least connected to real-world situations. Trump uses them like a TV remote to change the channel whenever the news gets bad for him. We're halfway through the video. Thanks for sticking with us. If you're enjoying it, hit the thumbs up and share it in your WhatsApp groups. If you'd like to support us, please tap the thanks button below. It helps us keep making great content. Drop a comment and don't forget to hit subscribe for more. Now let's continue with the video. Takeaway 6. Institutions are failing to resist this abuse. One of the most frustrating parts of the podcast was realizing how weak the other branches of government have become. Kevin Kruse pointed out that Trump had control of both the House and Senate early in his presidency, yet he still avoided working with them. Instead, he went around them by declaring emergencies. Jon Stewart said Congress has been neutered, meaning it no longer functions as a real check on the president. Republicans are too afraid to stand up to Trump, and Democrats seem too slow to act. Jill Lepore compared it to the Electoral College and filibuster, outdated systems that stay in place because each side hopes to benefit from them one day. For example, Congress has the power to review and cancel emergency declarations, but has almost never done it because they are too focused on short-term politics. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 7. News and universities are failing their roles. Jon Stewart criticized elite schools and the media for being slow and weak in the face of these challenges. He said that schools like Harvard have failed to defend their value to the public. Jill Lepore admitted that higher education wrongly assumed people would respect the value of truth and research on their own. Kevin Kruse added that conservative movements have successfully built parallel media systems and even tried to build their own colleges, but failed to match the prestige of places like Harvard. So now they are trying to destroy those institutions from the outside. For example, Trump and his allies have threatened to strip schools of their tax-exempt status or block their funding just for opposing his agenda. These attacks are not just words. They are designed to weaken one of the few forces that can still challenge power. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 8. Trump uses crisis to fuel political strategy. Kevin Kruse described how Trump does not wait for emergencies. He creates them. The goal is to spark outrage, let chaos spread, and then step in pretending to be the only one who can fix it. Jon Stewart said this is a self-fulfilling disaster. Trump provokes unrest and then uses that unrest to justify crackdowns. Jill Lepore reminded everyone that Nixon did something similar, and it helped him win a landslide re-election in 1972. For example, Trump recently ordered mass arrests in immigrant-heavy neighborhoods, even though local police said they did not need help. The point was never to fix a problem, but to create drama for political gain. This is not leadership, it is manipulation. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 9, social media and culture feed the chaos. The guests explained how today's media and online culture make it easy to spread fear and confusion. Jill Lepore said people live in separate information worlds where even basic facts cannot be agreed upon. She also noted that fear is everywhere now. People are scared to speak their minds, not just because of social media backlash, but because of real government threats. Jon Stewart said cancel culture and online mobs are one thing, but when the President of the United States uses that same style of attack with tanks and laws behind him, it is something much darker. For example, Stewart joked that during Trump's military parade, it might become illegal to frown. And sadly, that kind of joke is getting closer to real life. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 10, civic renewal is the only real solution. In the end, Jill Lepore offered a glimpse of hope. She told a story from the 1930s about a school superintendent in Detroit who opened up public buildings at night for neighbors to gather and talk about democracy. People debated real issues face to face, and it helped rebuild faith in the system. Eleanor Roosevelt supported it and helped spread the idea nationally. Jill said we need that kind of local civic renewal again. Jon Stewart agreed, saying that while billionaires and politicians use media to divide people, ordinary Americans still have the power to come together. For example, groups like Bridge USA are trying to create that kind of conversation again. It may sound simple, but bringing people into the same room to talk openly could be the first step in saving democracy. Here is a brief introduction about the guests. Jill Lepore is a professor of history and law at Harvard University and a staff writer for The New Yorker, known for her work on American political history and democracy. Kevin M. Kruse is a professor of history at Princeton University who specializes in modern American politics, race, and the rise of conservatism. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support this channel, hit the thanks button below. It really helps us keep going. If you enjoyed this summary, please leave a like and share it in your WhatsApp groups. To join discussion about this video, drop a comment below. And for more videos like this, hit the subscribe button below.